Welcome back. This episode will be sort of the cheat episode for those of you that may still be struggling with this process, or maybe you just want to be able to dive right in to making your own LiDAR visualizations. So, I assume at this point you've watched over an hour of material, I believe I'm at this point, on how to do this whole process. Maybe you've gotten frustrated trying to download all the softwares, all the plugins, getting in all the work, finding tiles and merging them together and reprojecting and all these problems. So I'm going to give you kind of a shortcut that gets you, maybe 90% of the way there. It's not quite as good, but if you want to jump right in or you're having trouble with the full process, this will be a simpler way to do this. So to do this method, you need to download QGIS, which is very easy from their website. You can I think it's about one click. You can download the latest long-term release. Then you'll have QGIS, and the only plugin is Quick Map Services. So that one has no dependencies. You just go up here to Plugins, Manage and Install. Connects to the repository. You could search for Quick Map Services right there. I've already downloaded it, but you can select it, do install where mine says uninstall, it would say install. Install Quick Map Services. I do still recommend adding the expanded provider pack. You can Google how to do that. It's pretty simple. You go into somewhere in settings, and you do download additional source providers, and then that'll add like Google Satellite and all those types of layers for you. So yeah, just get QGIS, Quick Map Services, and you're ready to go. So this is where we left off. I've got all my visualizations saved here still. You can see I've got Google Satellite. That can be kind of handy, seeing where you are on the ground with kind of the aerial view. But I'm going to leave this as a DEM, and you'll notice I turn this back to nearest neighbor to illustrate a point I was making earlier. So I've already got this pulled up and downloaded because it takes forever because I'm still on hotel Wi-Fi. But we're going to go back to the USGS national map. Again, this is the app, the downloader. And this was that area of interest where we found that old lead smelter previously. So I'm just going to select a point here because this should catch it. Select a point. And so before we went into elevation source data, this is where we get the actual LiDAR cloud, and then we derived our own DEM. In a lot of places where LiDAR is available, the USGS has already processed it into a DEM for you. This is all part of the 3DEP program. So we'll select this here and just see what our options are. Okay, so they have a 1 arcsecond DEM, 1/3, 1/9, 2 arc, 5 meter contours. These arcseconds, that's an angular measurement. I think 1/9 arcsecond, I forget what that comes out to on the ground. That might be like 10 feet or 5 feet. Might be 10 feet. It's a pretty big, pretty coarse resolution. So imagine my pixel size. This pixel size on my screen would be much larger with that. So it's basically useless for us. So what we want to look at is the 1 meter DEM. They do offer usually this 1 meter resolution in areas that have LiDAR data. So this is an area where they have already processed this LiDAR into a raster that we can just download. So we're going to search products here. And we've only got one. And I downloaded this previously, so you just click download link, and that will go into your downloads folder where you can copy it and paste it in your project folder under your raster. So that would be on mine. Let's see here. Under raster. And I have saved that here, USGS 1 meter DEM. That's where I saved that. So very important, pull it out of your downloads folder. If you ever clear your cache or something, you don't lose it. You want it to stay with the project. So we're going to save that to our raster folder. All right, so we've downloaded the 1 meter DEM. Let's see what we can do with it. To add a file to QGIS, you can either use this browser over here. I could browse through all my different drives and stuff and add it. You can also do data source manager. I never do it this way. There's a data source manager that you can use to bring stuff in. It's so easy this other way. I know how to do it, but I just literally never do. So we'll open our folder like this, USGS 1 meter, and all we gotta do is I'm gonna click and drag and drop. See how it says copy? And we've dropped that into our project. So now, even though we have this saved in a folder with the project, if I were to close QGIS and open it right now, it wouldn't be displaying this anymore. And so if you want this to keep appearing after you've closed and opened, you want to go ahead and press save. You see how there's the asterisk here? It means I need to save. I've made a change. So save. So now this is going to be part of the project. Since I previously loaded this into this project, I didn't have the dialog box pick up. This is actually in UTM 15 North, which I'm in UTM 15 North, but it's a different UTM 15 North. It's EPSIG 27,000, I forget the last three numbers, but it is a different coordinate reference system. The cool thing about QGIS is it's able to reproject on the fly, which is really handy. So it will automatically reproject that data into the coordinate reference system you're working on. And generally, it's a good practice to reproject your data to the coordinate reference system you're working in. But in this case, we don't need to do this. So I have this selected. You can see what that looks like. It's gray. That's actually showing up wrong, but that's okay. We're not going to use this anyway. We'll go to Hillshade. All right, and then when we get to an area where I have overlap. All right, see here. This is what I have. These layers. That's the order of which they're stacked on top of each other. So if I were to select Google Satellite, it would be stacked on top. So right now I don't have this one checked. I'm not viewing it. This is my DEM that I made. This is a 1/2 meter DEM. And I've changed it back to nearest neighbor just to illustrate a point down here. Because you can really see the pixel size, the grid. This is a 1/2 meter by 1/2 meter. So here's the resolution we get with the USGS data that we just downloaded in one click. It was super easy. So you can see here, 4 of my squares fit in 1 of their squares. But it's still, as I zoom out here, this is still useful. I can still see details with this. So we'll go back up here to our lead smelter, and I've still got this on nearest neighbor. I haven't even played with the settings yet. I can see that depression, the 2 depressions, and a little bit of the outline of the building. So let's go ahead and change this. We'll turn on early resampling. We'll change this to cubic. Go back up in our settings. And we'll change this to the same settings we used before. Let's see here. So we did an altitude. The angle of the sun is 65 degrees. And then azimuth, the direction it's coming from, 280 degrees. And our Z factor, I believe, was 2. So even with this coarser data set, I can still see this. I can still see the 4 sides and the 2 prominent depressions. I can still see some of this ag field activity over here, what I'm interpreting as an ag field. It doesn't stretch north, so unfortunately I can't investigate that further. But you can see all these roads and this ag field down here. So this is still useful, and this was a lot less work. I never use this because I want the higher resolution. I want the better data. I want all of it. But if you don't want to have to spend all the extra time developing your own, then you don't have to. You don't have to do it. So we'll compare these two. I'm going to just change these settings to be the same, and then we'll compare the two side by side before I conclude the video. All right. Okay. All right, I have the same settings for both layers now. So we'll zoom in a little more. You can see my level of detail I get there, and then watch when I go back to the pre-made USGS DEM. It's not a huge change. It is a change. There's details that I will catch in mine that I won't catch in theirs. You'll notice too, this is darker. You can play around with your brightness settings, contrast, things like that. I might play around with my sun angle, things like that, to make it better for this data set specifically. But that's the two compared. So if you don't want to go through that long process or download all the different softwares, if that's not something you enjoy, you just want pictures now, or maybe you want to figure out it on your own time, but you want to start looking now, this is a great option to just kind of get in and get started and have some data you can view and play around with it pretty easily. Compare the two there. Pretty close. All right, so that concludes, I think, the main part of my series on how to make LiDAR visualizations using open source software. I'll probably add to this in the future. And if you have any suggestions, feel free to reach out, give me some suggestions, and I can continue with some more videos in the future that might be of use. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I hope to revisit this again soon. Thank you.